Our project is about water pollution in the textile industry, specifically in India, and our solution to this problem.
Water pollution affects the people of India in many ways, not only affecting the water that they drink and use to bathe, clean their clothes, cook their food, etc., but also it hurts their local food source. Farmers who rely on these rivers and their fresh water output to irrigate their fields and harvest their crop every season are being affected because the contaminated water is either killing their crop or prohibiting them from using the water in the river to irrigate their fields and leaving them with no option other than to let their crops die out.
In India, there are many industries that make clothing and are creating a large portion of pollution. The factories make the water turn different colors. The problem we are going to fix is the water pollution in the textile industry. The water coming from textile factories is toxic. This problem affects major areas in India, ruining their water supply and endangering the people around the water and the ecosystems within the water. We have made a solution that is both biologically designed and environmentally helpful.
Our solution is to create a non-toxic dye used in the production of clothing. Current dyes and clothing production are artificially colored, and that artificial coloring normally comes from coal or petroleum-based products. Other types of artificially colored products come from sulfur or acids, and when these products are discharged back into the rivers, it is obviously harmful to the ecosystem and the organisms relying on that river water. So our non-toxic dye, the base for the coloring would be fruit or vegetables. Um, so in that case, after being used to dye the clothing, the fruit would be discharged back into the river, and that would obviously not be as deadly or harmful in any way to the organisms or the ecosystem living in the river as the artificial dyes already are. So why is this going to work? Well, for starters, we'd be using non-toxic materials like fruits and vegetables to make the dyes, and we'd be taking the materials straight from the earth and putting the waste back into the earth. But also, our focus is in India, and India happens to be the world's largest producer of fruit. Fruits in the factories grown locally by the farmers and distributed right, right to local factories. So, also, there's been a lot of trends set lately in the fashion industry, and the new human-friendly trend, human-friendly dyes from the fruit, it could become a big hit, almost as more of a humanitarian stance in the clothing industry. And the fruit-based dyes they've been used on do-it-yourself type of projects, and this is just doing that, except on an industrial-sized scale. So really, economically, it seems that it would probably have a positive outcome.
Our system diagrams demonstrate how everything flows within the water pollution system. The top diagram is a basic picture of where the water and chemicals go and how they circulate throughout a system. The second diagram shows the same system, but with added stakeholders and leverage points to show who the water affects and how it is affecting them. It is important to see how many aspects of an ecosystem water pollution hits. This is why we came up with our solution to ensure a safer environment for those mentioned in the diagrams.
There are about 7 stakeholders in this. It starts with the clothing companies, then goes to the textile workers, then to the farmers, then to the chemists, and then to the factory workers, and then the village people, and then the consumers, and then it all goes back to the clothing companies. The clothing companies are the retailers that tell the textile people what materials they need. Then the textile workers work with the farmers and the chemists to create the apparel. Then the chemists connect to the factory workers because the factories are using the chemicals made by the chemists. And they also connect with the village people because the chemicals from the factories are affecting the villages. The factory workers connect with the village people because the factories are bad for the nearby villages. They also connect to the consumers because the clothes made in the factories go to the consumers.
In conclusion, our solution is to create a dye from substances that are organic and non-toxic, such as fruits and vegetables, in order to reduce water pollution caused by the textile industry.